Hello friends, tonight we're going to take a look at the InForce APLc weapon light. It looks cool, it's easy to use, and the price is right. This is the only non-surefire light I've bought in quite a while, and I was a bit skeptical. The InForce lights are plastic, they're not particularly feature-packed, and they have a lower output than some other comparable options, but they are perhaps the coolest looking weapon light, and that matters. The APLc is what I thought weapon lights of the future would look like when I was a teenager. InForce also sounds like what I would have named my fictional laser gun company when I was 14. Anyway, folks tend to view the InForce lights as a budget option, but with the light, the only thing I really care about is how well it works, and these work really, really well, with a few caveats. Features. The APLc puts out 200 lumens fed by a single CR2 battery. The battery life is said to be an hour and a half, but it's not. More on that later. InForce makes a model that fits pretty much any pistol with rails, and they make a model that lines up perfectly with the rail slot on Glocks, and that's the model that you see here. It also lines up perfectly with my CZ P10C. The P10C is the slot in pretty much the same place as a Glock, as you'd suspect given that the P10C is targeting that Glock 19 market segment, and doing a damn fine job of it, I might add. The Glock model has the screw up front, while the Universal model has it in the rear, and who doesn't like a screw in the rear, am I right? The screw's actually more in the middle, but I just wanted to make that joke. So let's take a look at the light off of the gun. We'll look at the battery and the lamp and all that stuff. So the way this fits on the gun is incredibly elegant and simple. With Surefire and Streamlight, you have the screw, which you tighten to close the wings around the rail with the screw running through the slot. The upside to that is you get the light on there very securely, but that adds a lot of weight. This grips the rail with just enough pressure, and then the screw holds it in place. So yes, there's a little bit of wiggle, but with regular use, you're not going to notice it. I just love simple, elegant designs, and this meets that definition, I'd say. You can slightly unscrew the lamp to lock the light off. With it all the way in, we're getting light. Give it a few turns, and it's locked out. Very nice. That's going to prevent you from accidentally discharging the light if you're in a situation where that sort of thing matters. For a civilian like me, that mostly prevents the battery from running down if the light discharges in the gun's case or my range bag. The lamp, or at least the bezel and threads, are metal. Feels really sturdy. There's our CR2 battery. Fits right down in the housing. So the interior threads are also metal, so this is going to stand up to quite a few battery changes. I don't have any reservations about the long-term durability. This light has no strobe mode. I don't give 2 shits or even 3 shits about a strobe mode. It's just one more feature to break. But it does mean that you can't use your tactical light to turn that home invasion into a dance party. Pressing either button and immediately releasing it leaves the light on. Pressing either button and releasing it after a half a second engages the momentary on feature, and the light remains on only for as many moments as you hold the button down for. The buttons are very gribby, and they have a nice positive click. Now for our 2 main features, the 2 that likely draw you to the light besides how cool it looks. The light is delightfully inexpensive. The price is fantastic. And finally, the APLc is light and small. Not the lightest or smallest, but plenty light and small for the money. While we're at it, why don't we take a look at it on the P10C? Yeah, line it up there. Perfect. Very nice. Very attractive. So why should you buy the APLc over other small weapon lights? We're not going to compare the APLc to the big heavy weapon lights like the Surefire X300 and the XH35 or the bigger stream lights. Those all weigh 4 ounces, give or take, and they tend to have much higher output, 500 to 1,000 lumens usually. That said, I will tell you why you might want a smaller weapon light in general. Those bigger lights are harder to carry. They're bigger and heavier, obviously, and that's more to cram in your pants. Also, just as a shooter, you may not want to add 4 ounces to the end of a gun. That much weight definitely changes the way a pistol handles, and maybe not for the better. That's kind of a subjective thing. For something that I'm using for home defense or taking to the range, 2 extra ounces isn't really going to bother me, but it may bother you. Also, you might find that 500 to 1,000 lumens is just too many lumens for your application. We'll talk a little bit about that later. Really, the APLC is competing with the other small, lightweight lights like the Surefire XC1B and the Streamlight TLR3, that sort of thing. Personally, I think the InForce looks a bit better than the Streamlight aesthetically, and is probably equally as attractive as the Surefire. The Streamlight puts out only 115 lumens for an hour and a half running on a CR2 battery. Also, it weighs more, less lumens, more weight, and it doesn't look as nice. The Surefire XC1B puts out 300 lumens running on a AAA battery for 45 minutes. Also, the XC1B weighs only 1.6 ounces, a little bit less than the APLC. The Surefire is far more expensive, though. Much more expensive. I love the Surefire. I like that it takes an incredibly common battery available at nearly any store. I like the size and weight. I like that it's made of aluminum. Surefire makes awesome lights. I'm a huge fan. But you should know that the 300 lumens come from a Surefire Max Vision lamp. Those lamps cast a much wider beam. That makes the XC1B seem substantially dimmer than the APLC, but the Surefire lights an impressive portion of a room, and the Max Vision lights seem to affect my night vision a little bit less, as I'm not being subjected to a highly focused narrow beam reflecting off of surfaces. Personally, I find that the narrow beams, like that thrown out by the APLC, work better outdoors as they project much farther, and they also work better to blind or disrupt an assailant. But for navigating a building or lighting up a room to see, the Max Vision works better and is less disruptive and disorienting to everyone involved, assailant and assailee alike. I really don't have a preference there. I like the APLC for what it brings to the table, and the same goes for the Surefire. Something to note. InForce says that this is water resistant. What does that mean? The Surefire is waterproof. Not only does Surefire tell us that, but I've dropped a lot of Surefires in water and worse liquids, and the APLC has held up great for my purposes so far, but I'm a civilian and this light is on my home defense gun, where it's highly unlikely that it'll be submerged in water unless something really weird happens. I try not to imagine what that fucking scenario looks like, but I don't understand why this light isn't waterproof. I may throw this thing in some water just to see what happens, but I haven't worked up the nerve to do it just yet. Now, why am I okay with this, you ask, it being water resistant? Because this light is like $100 and it lives inside my house. It goes to the range and sits inside. If it were $150 or $200, I would be complaining pretty hard about the water resistant thing. Why should you choose this particular InForce light? InForce makes a larger 400 lumen weapon light. It weighs more and puts out more light, obviously. If you need more light, buy the larger one. If you need a more compact light or less output, buy this light. Either way, you're getting a good inexpensive light that performs really well. How has the APLC performed? For the most part, it has performed really well. I've had it on my home defense gun for a few months, and it's been on my gun at the range for more than a few trips. I mentioned that this light is water resistant, not waterproof. Well, my APLC was in a rather intense and very cold downpour and was unaffected. It and I were soaked, and it seemed to handle it a little bit better than I did. At the time, I had figured the light was waterproof. Lights ought to be waterproof. So it hasn't been submerged, and that's really been the light's only exposure to water, and it seemed fine. I've also noticed that this light doesn't run nearly as long as it should on one battery, and it seems to simply go out when the battery is dead rather than dimming over time. I don't mind that the battery just goes dead whenever it starts to run down, but I do wish it lasted the advertised hour and a half. I can't tell you exactly how long I get out of the battery, but it's just not quite right. Maybe it's the batteries I'm choosing, but the same thing occurred with the stock one as well. I don't know. So I keep spares around, and it's not the end of the world. I just take one or two with me. But anyway, on to the positive stuff, because there's a lot more positive stuff than negative stuff. The buttons feel fantastic. So clicky. So grippy. They're nice and big and in just the right spot. My support thumb drops down a little bit and is right on top of the button. The light's really intuitive to use. The beam quality is excellent. There are no dead spots, and the beam is very narrow and focused. Looking at the beam, it feels like a lot more than 200 lumens. It's narrow, but that means that an assailant will find it disorienting, and it carries quite a long way outside. I was shocked at how far you can see with it outside at night. So let's talk about the great lumens debate while we're talking about this light. So it goes like this. Is it best to have 1,000 lumens so that you can see like the fucking sun is out at 3 a.m. and burn out the retinas of the guy who's trying to make off with your Costco flat screen? Or is it best to have 200 lumens so that you can see your attacker, identify he, she, they, and shoot all without affecting your night vision? The debate rages on. I'll share my thoughts with you, but please know that I'm just a dumb civilian who will at most have to illuminate someone making off with my flat screen, so this is just personal preference. If you live in a rural area and there is a very high chance that your weapon and attached light will be used outside, the more lumens the better, in my experience, and the more focused the beam, the better. More lumens and a narrower beam will let you see fairly spectacular distances, a good feature to have in the middle of nowhere. But in a confined space, more lumens absolutely will fuck your night vision all to hell. What I'm telling you is I can't decide which is right. Both approaches have merit and make valid points. But even looking at a 200 lumen light, it really fucks up my night vision. And it's really nice having those 1,000 lumens to shine in a motherfucker's eyes. At the same time, I find a 1,000 lumens to be somewhat unpleasant to look at, even as the user. So I split the difference. My home defense rifle has a Surefire M600DF putting out a ridiculous 1,500 lumens, while one of my home defense pistols here has the APLc putting out 200 lumens, the best of all worlds. Ridiculous and reasonable. I can light up a room or the whole fucking state. It's nice. The APLc has proven to be durable thus far. I don't know how many rounds I fired with it on the gun, but I'd say about 1,000. The light hasn't been dropped or rough handled yet, though, but I'm starting to trust the damn thing. Okay, so we've got a pitch dark room here. We're gonna just see what these 200 lumens look like. Yeah, that's pretty damn bright, and you can see the beam quality is excellent. Yeah. No dead spots or anything weird like that. So let's compare that to the 1,500 lumens from the Surefire M600DF. Oh, 1,500 is a lot more lumens than 200. Yeah, that stings the old eyes. There's a lot of lumens there. A lot of lumens. So what would I change about the APLc? Why is this light not waterproof? I just don't understand. Any serious weapon light should be waterproof. And maybe this one is in actual practice. If yours has been submerged, you'll have to tell me what happened. I'll eventually work up the nerve to drop mine in a glass of water, but I'm not there yet. Also, I wish this light actually ran for an hour and a half. CR2s aren't the most expensive batteries in the world, but they aren't the cheapest either. I may try the rechargeable ones. The runtime will be further diminished, but I won't have to worry about ordering batteries. Right now, I'm in the phase where I take the light off the gun and use it to light up all kinds of shit just because I have it, and shit needs to get lit up. You gotta see what's over there. And once I get tired of doing that, which will eventually happen, I'll probably find that I'm going through batteries at a slower pace. Final thoughts. For a civilian, the APLc is a fantastic bargain. You get a slick, easy-to-use light with a really nice beam. Will it stand up to getting thrown out of a plane and run over by one of those old Toyota trucks with the machine guns on it, the terrorist wagon? I have no idea if it'll survive something like that, but it easily survives everything that I'm doing to it, and I really enjoy using it so far. We often overlook enjoyment when we're discussing tactical shit. We talk for days about reliability and build quality, but it's very important that we enjoy using a product too. Don't get me wrong, it's critical that the product work, but why not have something that you enjoy too? If you don't enjoy something, you're not going to want to train with it, and if you don't train with it, you'll fucking suck when you have to use it in a bad situation. So if you're looking for a good, cheap light that's fun and easy to use, this is the one. If you need something bomb-proof, you probably are going to buy the Surefire X300 anyway. The APLc is overall a great light, and I really like it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. I'll talk to you soon. Good night.